Welcome, one and all, to this humble show to be put on by this chorus of one.
Excuse me.
Get comfortable, close your eyes if you need to, and join us tonight for Spoon River Anthology.
Thanks. Where are Elmer, Herman, Bert, Tom, and Charlie? The weak of will, the strong of arm, the clown, the boozer, the fighter. All are sleeping on the hill. One passed in fever, one was burned in a mine, one was killed in a brawl,
One died in jail.
one fell from a bridge, toiling for children and wife.
All are sleeping on the hill. Where are Ella, Kate, Mag, Lizzie, and Edith? The tender heart, the simple soul, the loud, the proud, the happy one? All are sleeping on the hill. One died in shameful childbirth.
One of a thwarted love. One at the hands of a brute in a brothel. One of a broken pride in the search for heart's desire. One after life in faraway London and Paris.
Was brought to her little space by Ella and Kate and Mag. All are sleeping on the hill.
Where are Uncle Isaac and Aunt Emily? And old Towny Kincaid and Seven Houghton?
And Major Walker, who had talked with venerable men of the Revolution.
All
are sleeping on the hill.
They brought them dead sons from the war, and daughters who life had crushed.
And the children, fatherless, crying.
All
are
sleeping
sleeping
on the hill. Where is old Fiddler Jones, who played with life all his 90 years, braving the sleet with bared breast, drinking, riding, thinking neither of wife nor kin, nor gold, nor love, nor heaven?
Lo, he babbles of the fish fries of long ago, of the horse race of long ago at Clary's Grove, of what Abe Lincoln said one time at Springfield.
She took my strength by minutes. She took my life by hours. She drained me like a fevered moon that saps the spinning world. The days went by like shadows, the minutes wheeled like stars. She took the pity from my heart and made it into smiles. She was a hunk of sculptor's clay. My secret thoughts were fingers. They flew behind her pensive brow and lined it deep with pain. They set the lips and sagged the cheeks, and drooped the eye with sorrow. My soul had entered in the clay, fighting like 7 devils. It was not mine, it was not hers. She held it, but its struggles modeled a face she hated and a face I feared to see. I beat the windows, shook the bolts, I hid me in a corner. And then she died and hunted me for life.
Henry got me with child, knowing that I could not bring forth life without losing my own. In my youth, therefore, I entered the portals of dust. Traveler, it is believed in the village where I lived that Henry loved me with a husband's love, but I proclaim from the dust that he slew me to gratify his hatred.
If a man could bite the giant hand that catches and destroys him, as I was bitten by a rat while demonstrating my patent trap in my hardware store that day. But a man could never avenge himself on the monstrous ogre life. You enter the room, that's being born. And then you must leave. Work out your soul. Aha! The bait that you crave is in view. A woman with money you want to marry. Prestige, place, or power in the world. But there's work to do and things to conquer. Oh yes, the wire that screens the bait. At last you get in, but you hear a step. The ogre laugh comes into the room. He was waiting and heard the clang of the spring to watch you nibble the wondrous cheese and stare with his burning eyes at you and scowl and laugh and mock and curse you, running up and down in the trap until your misery bores him. They have chiseled on my stone the words. His life was gentle and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man. Those who knew me smile as they read this empty rhetoric. My epitaph should have been, life was not gentle to him, and the elements so mixed in him that he made warfare on life, in the which he was slain. While I lived, I could not cope with slanderous tongues. Now that I'm dead, I must submit to an epitaph graven by a fool.
You praise my self-sacrifice, Spoon River, in rearing Irene and Mary, orphans of my older sister, and you censure Irene and Mary for their contempt for me, but praise not my self-sacrifice and censure not their contempt. I reared them, I cared for them, true enough, but I poisoned my benefactions with constant reminders of their dependence.
In life, I was a town drunkard. When I died, the priest denied me burial in holy ground, the which rebounded to be my good fortune, for the Protestants bought this lot and buried my body here, close to the grave of the banker Nicholas, and of his wife Priscilla. Take note, ye prudent and pious souls, of the cross currents in life, which bring honor to the dead who lived in shame. How does it happen, tell me, that I, who was most erudite of lawyers, who knew Blackstone and Coke almost by heart, who made the greatest speech the courthouse ever heard, and wrote a brief that won the praise of Justice Breese, how does it happen, tell me, that I lie here unmarked, forgotten, while Chase Henry, the town drunkard, has a marble block topped by an urn, wherein nature, in a mood ironical, has sown a flowering weed?
Well, Emily Sparks, your prayers were not wasted. Your love was not all in vain. I owe whatever I was in life to your hope that would not give me up, to your love that saw me still as good. Dear Emily Sparks, let me tell you the story. I passed the effect of my father and mother. The milliner's daughter made me trouble, and I went out in the world, where I passed through every peril known of wine and women and joy of life. One night, in a room in the Rue de Rivoli, I was drinking wine with a black-eyed coquette, and the tears swam into my eyes. She thought they were amorous tears, and smiled for thought of her conquest over me. But my soul was 3,000 miles away, in the days when you taught me in Spoon River. And just because you no more could love me, nor pray for me, nor write me letters, the eternal silence of you spoke instead, and the black-eyed coquette took the tears for hers, as well as the deceiving kisses I gave her. Somehow, from that hour I had a new vision. Dear Emily Sparks, I am Minerva, the village poetess, hooted at, jeered at by the yahoos of the street, for my heavy body, cockeye and roll and walk, and all the more when Butch Weldy captured me after a brutal hunt. He left me to my fate with Dr. Myers, and I sank into death, growing numb from the feet up, like one stepping deeper and deeper into a stream of ice. Will someone go to the village newspaper and gather into a book the verses I wrote? I thirsted so for love, I hungered so for life.
No other man, unless it was Doc Hill, did more for people in this town than I. And all the weak, the halt, the improvident, and those who could not pay flocked to me. I was good-hearted, easy Dr. Myers. I was healthy, happy, in comfortable fortune, blessed with a congenial mate, my children raised, all wedded, doing well in the world. And then, one night, Minerva, the poetess, came to me in her trouble, crying. I tried to help her out. She died. They indicted me. The newspapers disgraced me. My wife perished of a broken heart. And pneumonia finished me.
Noet Hoheimer ran away to the war the day before Curl Trinary swore out a warrant through Justice Arnett for stealing hogs. But that's not the reason he turned a soldier. He caught me running with Lucius Atherton. We quarreled, and I told him never again to cross my path. Then he stole the hogs and went to the war. Back of every soldier is a woman.
I went up and down the streets, here and there, by day and night, through all hours of the night, caring for the poor who were sick. Do you know why? My wife hated me. My son went to the dogs, and I turned to the people and poured out my love to them. Sweet it was to see the crowds about the lawn on the day of my funeral, and hear them murmur their love and sorrow. But, oh dear God, my soul trembled, scarcely able to hold to the railing of the new life, when I saw Em Stanton behind the oak tree at the grave, hiding herself and her grief. I belonged to the church and to the party of prohibition, and the villagers thought I died of eating watermelon. In truth, I had cirrhosis of the liver, for every noon for 30 years I slipped behind the prescription partition in Turana's drugstore and poured a generous drink from the bottle marked Spiritus Frumentari.
There is something about death, like love itself.
If with someone with whom you have known passion and the glow of youthful love,
you also, after years of life together, feel the sinking of the fire,
and thus fade away together, gradually,
faintly,
delicately, as it were in each other's arms,
passing from the familiar room.
That is the power of unison between souls,
like love itself.
When Spoon River became a ganglion for the monster-brained Chicago, these were the signs I painted which showed what ruled America. Vote for Patrick Kelly and save taxes. I am for men, and this is the cigar. This generation shall not see death. Here, Pastor Valentine. Eat healthina and live. Chew Floss's gum and keep your teeth. $25 for a complete funeral. Insure your life. 3% for your money. Come to the Automat. And if there is any evidence of a civilization better, I'd like to see the signs.
Miss Middleton opened her door a little to get the secrets of people passing, and Mrs. Kessler, the washerwoman, read the cartouches on pillows and napkins. But I, with receivers clamped to my ears in a back room of a trainer's drugstore, learned all the secrets of Spoon River while plugging wires and snapping switches. Who was happy and who was wretched, and who was in love and who was out of it, and who was to wed or have a baby, and who was meeting who in Chicago, and who was kind and who was cruel, and who was a friend and who a foe, and who was plotting, hiding, lying, making money or losing the game. And I say the commandment not to judge went out with the telephone.
Did I reach the pinnacle of success, friends of Spoon River? Did thrift, industry, courage, honesty used for the increase of the cannon works become other than thrift, industry, courage, honesty as applied to the cannon works? Are the mechanics of civilization itself? Or are they tools with which factories may be built, or parpenons? I fashioned myself my own prison, friends of Spoon River. I put walls between myself and a full life, kept the happiness of work, and all the while I could look out of a window upon an America perishing for life, never to be attained, by thrift, industry, and courage, dedicated to the cannon works. I failed as a painter of meadows and hills about Spoon River, for they hated art and believed in work, and hated beauty and treasured use, and they left a soul in pain alone, but hunted a man who was happy, and the end of it was they starved me out. So I set to work to drain Spoon River of all its deadly refuse, with pipes and sewers and porcelain tubs, and the boon of running water. But oh, Spoon River, where is the plumber to make you clean of ignorance and cruelty and the money lust that colors its yellow bacterial plots with pulpit-spewed morality? And who can mend the sewers of hate that keep you sick, Spoon River?
It was early morning when my dear beloved came to me, asking to break off our marriage. For 5 years we'd been together, and for 5 years she subjected me to verbal torment every time she opened her mouth. Always how I never did enough, or perhaps how it was not done to her ever-raising standards, or not swift enough to have been performed by the angels themselves. No, she, with vicious charm, informed me she was going to be just fine, departing with her high-paying job across town. Paid better than I was, so unfit was I to be a man, or at least a man worthy of her time. Perhaps she had expected me to fall to my knees, beg for a mercy I'd always been denied. Instead, I all too happily, and with a smile normally reserved for a fox leaving the henhouse, showed her to the door and wished her all the luck, driving herself to work. Spoon River, like a convict now released, I must confess,
I had not savored the taste of freedom when it was mine to have. And in retrospect, I could have chosen a far better partner in crime to chain myself to. Every mayor before me, far back as memory ran, has been denounced as a demagogue dreamer or else as a thief or a crook. Yet I took the place with a hope, intending to beautify, give the people their money's worth, make big offenders toe the mark. As of old, the Ledger was trying to sell its land for a park, but I balked that. Then I whacked the noses of monstrous swine away from the trough. What happened? Well, the crime wave broke. In the Ledger's pages. What holdups, gamblers, lawless booze, and places of vice. The churches began to chatter, and the courts took a hand against me. They blackened my name and the name of the town. They killed me to get their way, and this is the bandit game, my friends, of what is called democracy.
I could read every character in Spoon River by the way they treated the matter of letters. There were those who never came to the post office unless I met them on the street and told them there was a letter for them. They didn't seem to care whether anyone ever wrote them or not. Then there were those who haunted the post office for letters and rarely got a letter. There are two kinds of people: those who are sufficient to themselves, and those who depend on the outside world and haunt the post office.
You get so used to saying a thing, like, already, over they go, just a moment, head of the army, I object, or next, that it's really yourself at the end of life, and how can you tell when out of your head and dying whether you say it or a voice is saying it to you? And I who had barbered all of them from A.D. Blood to Lucius Atherton and told them stories and laughed at theirs and shaved them in their coffins, thought I was working in my shop dyeing the hair of Henry Bennett when a voice said, next. And even yet, I think the voice was mine. I tried them with sermons, temptation, choosing a character, the unmarried mother. All no good. I gave them theology, God-headed demonstrations, the sacraments, and scheme of salvation. Empty pews and the church in debt. I gave them a travelogue, Yellowstone Park with views. Quiet crowd. The movie was closed for repairs that night. Then the Reverend Althoff Bilge and I joined hands to save the churches. We got up suppers at the Perkin Tea Gardens, allowed the young to dance square dances to saxophones, served ginger ale. It wouldn't do, for it wasn't real. We couldn't compete with the children of darkness. I quit at last and began to lecture. You see, I needed money. No justice without hate for steam, no law without revenge, no charity without partial love, no belief without closed eyes, no forgiveness without recompense, no service without some gain, no labor without a lure, no sacrifice without a heaven. Sun and shadow, reality and image, and myself worn down with hollow words, activities, hopes, and dreams, dodging devils and seeking the gods. Why did I sell you plated silver, rhinestones, and synthetic rubies? Why did I sell you gold-filled cases? The question at stake is, why did you buy? I couldn't sell them as real and prosper, but you could buy and pretend them real, as part of your game of fooling each other with fake morality, hollow customs, and laws compounded of spurious stuff. The goods I sold you matched something in you, for some of your souls were only plated, and some of you put yourselves together to imitate virtues clear and precious, and some of you were mostly brass under a film of gold. She loved me. Oh, how she loved me. I never had a chance to escape from the day she first saw me. But then, after we were married, I thought she might prove her mortality and let me out. Or she might divorce me. But few die, none resign. Then I ran away and was gone a year, on a lark. But she never complained. She said all would be well, that I would return. And I did return. I told her that while taking a row in a boat, I had been captured near Van Buren Street by pirates on Lake Michigan, and kept in chains so I could not ride her. She cried and kissed me and said it was cruel, outrageous, inhuman. I then concluded our marriage was a divine dispensation and could not be dissolved except by death. I was right. He ran away and was gone for a year. When he came home, he told me the silly story of being kidnapped by pirates on Lake Michigan and kept in chains so he could not write me. I pretended to believe it, though I knew very well what he was doing, and that he met the millionaire, Mrs. Williams, now and then, when she went to the city to buy goods, as she said. But a promise is a promise, and marriage is marriage. And out of respect for my own character, I refused to be drawn into a divorce by the scheme of a husband who had merely grown tired of his marital vow and duty. Mr. Kessler, you know, was in the army, and he drew $6 a month as a pension and stood on the corner talking politics or sat at home reading Grant's memoirs, and I supported the family by washing, learning the secrets of all the people, from the curtains, counterpanes, shirts, and skirts. For things that are new grow old at length. They're replaced with better or none at all. People are prospering or falling back, and rents and patches widen with time. No thread or needle can paste decay, and there are stains that baffle soap, and there are colors that run in spite of you. Blamed though you are for spoiling a dress, handkerchiefs, napery have their secrets. The laundress, life knows all about it. And I, who went to all the funerals held in Spoon River, swear I never saw a dead face without thinking it looked like something washed and ironed. I bought every kind of machine that's known. Grinders, shellers, planters, mowers, mills and rakes and plows and threshers, and all of them stood in the rain and sun, getting rusted, warped, and battered, for I had no shed to store them in, and no use for most of them. And toward the last, when I thought it over, there by my window, growing clearer about myself as my pulse slowed down, and looked at one of the mills I bought, which I didn't have the slightest need of, as things turned out, and I never ran, a fine machine, once brightly varnished and eager to do its work, now with its paint washed off. I saw myself as a good machine that life had never used. I was a lawyer like Harrison Whitney or Kinsey Kane or Garrison Standard, for I tried the rights of property, though by lamplight for 30 years, in that poker room in the Opera House. And I say to you that life's a gambler, head and shoulders above us all. No mayor alive can close the house, and if you lose, you can squeal as you will, you'll not get your money back. He makes the percentages hard to conquer, he stacks the cards to catch your weakness and not to meet your strength. And he gives you 70 years to play, for if you cannot win in 70 years, you cannot win at all. So if you lose, get out of the room. Get out of the room when your time is up. It's mean to sit and fumble the cards and curse your losses, leaden-eyed, or whining to try and try. My parents thought that I would be as great as Edison or greater. For as a boy I made balloons and wondrous kites and toys with clocks and little engines with tracks to run on and telephones of can and thread. I played the cornet and painted pictures, modeled in clay and took the part of the villain in The Octoroon. But then at 21 I married and had to live, and so, to live, I learned the trade of making watches, and kept a jewelry store on the square, thinking. Not of business, but of the engine. I studied the calculus to build, and all Spoon River watched and waited to see it work. But it never worked. And a few kind souls believed my genius was somehow hampered by the store. It wasn't true. The truth was this: I did not have the brains.
It gave me a lesson in resignation to see that nothing of ceremony makes anything of death. I went with a wreath for the grave of Judge Loeffler. The sexton sent me to the office, and the brisk stenographer took the wreath and said the judge was still in a vault with others. She didn't know the number. Then I remembered the shocking report of his death and how they laid him out. Not the end. His friends then viewed him. Not the end. He lay in the courthouse in state. Not the end. He was then taken to church, and they sang and preached. Still not the end. He was prayed over at the vault. Not the end. He is still in the vault. Not the end. He is yet to be buried, and will that end it? All this to prolong an episode that ended when he died.
I was one of the reporters of The Ledger, gradually drilled down from reporting events as I saw them to reporting them as they wanted to print them. If they had only challenged the truth of my report, they didn't. They only said that what I reported wouldn't please. It didn't represent what should be. It didn't represent what never could be. It had to be better or worse than the fact. It had to sell the paper.
There is nothing makes me sorrier for men than their emotions about virginity. How they prize it, how they rave for its loss and revenge its loss. Lucius Atherton took my virginity, and wasn't I as well for losing it as he was for winning? I married another man afterwards and lived happily enough. And I could name you 20 women in this graveyard, spinsters of the church, patricians, grand ladies, who secretly and without the consent of the county clerk gave up their virginity, the same as they shed their baby teeth, and not many years afterward. All are sent into the thicket of life, some to hunt and survive, some to be hunted to death. What was it that gave them the scent of me? Made them pursue and fortune, fate, and nature in a league against me all along the way? First as a boy, teased and fought by schoolmates, bitten by dogs, nearly drowned, sick to death from eating toadstools, always a broken arm or a kick of a horse or a frozen ear. Later betrayed and robbed in business. Beauty of person, gifts availed me nothing. I was a deer compelled to live with the hounds. I went to the dances at Chandlerville and played Snap Out at Winchester. One time we changed partners, driving home in the moonlight of middle June, and then I found Davis. We were married and lived together for 70 years, enjoying, working, raising the 12 children, 8 of whom we lost ere I had reached the age of 60. I spun, I wove, I kept the house, I nursed the sick. I made the garden, and for holiday rambled over the fields where sing the larks. And by Spoon River gathered many a shell and many a flower and medicinal weed, shouting to the wood hills, singing to the green valleys. At 96 I had lived enough, that is all, and passed to a sweet repose. What is this I hear of sorrow and weariness, anger, discontent, and drooping hopes? Degenerate sons and daughters, life is too strong for you. It takes life to love life.
When I first came to Spoon River, I did not know whether what they told me was true or false. They would bring me the epitaph and stand around the shop while I worked and say, "Oh, he was so kind. He was so wonderful. She was the sweetest woman. He was a consistent Christian." And I chiseled for them whatever they wished, all in ignorance of the truth. But later, as I lived among the people here, I knew how near to the life were the epitaphs that were ordered by them as they died. But still I chiseled whatever they paid me to chisel, and made myself party to the false chronicles of the stones, even as the historian does who writes without knowing the truth, or because he is influenced to hide it. How many times during the 20 years I was your leader, friends of Spoon River, did you neglect the convention and caucus, and leave the burden on my hands of guarding and saving the people's cause? Sometimes because you were ill, or your grandmother was ill, or you drank too much and fell asleep, or else you said, "He's our leader, all will be well. He fights for us, we have nothing to do but follow." But, oh, how you cursed me when I fell, and cursed me again, saying I had betrayed you, and leaving the caucus room for a moment when the people's enemy, there assembled, wailed and watched for a chance to destroy the sacred rights of the people. You common rabble, I left the caucus to go to the urinal.
At this moment that you're standing by my grave, stars are taking new positions. The sun spouts great flames. The earth has just reached the sign of Sagittarius. In the sea, cruel eyes turn, hungry mouths open. In Africa, a great gorilla is just shuffling through the jungle. And in South America, an anaconda has slipped heavily from a tree to the ground. A Mahometan has begun to pray in Egypt, and a cannibal in the South Sea is hacking the limbs of a fellow being before cooking them. In Paris, chancellors are plotting in a room. There are many partings and reunions at this moment, and promises made and broken. A great man has just died in Bombay, and Mrs. Cease has given birth to another child here in Spoon River. I am dead, and you are standing by my grave, all in this moment.
Flame! The color of its shape and power, who knows what flickers to the wind? Flames on the hearth mount high because of pitch and resin. They soar and twine, flame wrestles with flame, but the bed of coals is a steady glow. And thus I never knew myself till desire, ambition, lust of the world were burned away, and the will of me urging itself to mount, leaving my essential self like carbon, the basis of life, seeing calmly all coals at last.
This is my sorrow, O my beautiful flowers, that I did not sow you in better soil.
I was as good as she at the start, but afterward she became the milliner and looked like a walking hollyhock with her parasol and Tony swagger. Well, I shoed horses to make a show, really supported by her, and mowed the lawn and tended the garden and sprinkled the flowers and ran her errands to earn and keep her love. At last her frequent trips to Chicago, buying goods, as she said, together with certain questions from Benjamin Pantier and Jonathan Somers and such. Well, Harvey, where's your wife? Got into my brain and made me think. So while I was shoeing that wicked mule, I stood for a moment and stared at his hooves and said to myself, in an idle way, she loves me. She loves me not. Well, quick as lightning, I fell like a feather into an ocean of ink. You will go on forever, Spoon River, as you have always gone, treating each other as if life would last forever, and that happiness could be taken after revenge and business were cared for. You will go on breaking the wills of each other, forcing ideas of life upon each other, making laws, trampling delight, making plans for years to come. You will go on so, blind to the fact that property, just property, is at the bottom of all this illusion that life lasts forever. The urge of the seed.
The germ.
The urge of the germ.
The stalk.
The urge of the stalk.
Leaves.
The urge of leaves.
The blossom.
The urge of the blossom.
To scatter pollen.
The urge of the pollen.
The imagined dream of life.
The urge of life.
Longing for tomorrow.
The urge of tomorrow.
Pain.
The urge of pain.
God. This concludes our showing of Spoon River. Thank you so much for watching until the end. And for our singular audience member who has sat silently, you shall never be alone again.
Wait, what? Hey, where the hell did everyone go?
Everyone? It was just us here. And you didn't have a voice until we gave you one. Don't worry, it's nice in the chorus. Your voice will have plenty of company.
I made the door open. Is it locked?
Oh, have
Gah!
you tried pulling?
How did you-
Maybe it's a push door and you're on the wrong side. There never was a door. There never was a stage. There was only us, setting the scene with sound. Don't worry.
You'll
never be alone again.
Oh, no, no, no!